Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about torso techniques for mech building. And when I talk about torso techniques, I specifically am talking about kind of the big chunky Battletech style of military mech, more so than the humanoid mecha style. So I won't be talking about that here because that's not my gig, but basically what I'm going to show is a bit of the secret sauce for how I achieve some of the slopes on these models, and that is both at a large scale like this here, which is the Archon, and then all the way down to what's currently my smallest scale, so this would be Archon Beta. And again, you can see how typically I build with some kind of slope. Most military vehicles have sloped armor to deflect incoming shells, so I go with that style for my builds as well. And in this case, it is both sloping downwards. It's very mild on this model, but you can see how it goes straight and then slopes downwards, and it also slopes inwards. So today I'm going to be mostly talking about how to achieve a very strong downward slope, and I'll do more kind of angle tutorials on my next video. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can achieve these slopes. Again, I don't profess to being an expert. This is just how I do it. And the caveat is it will result in a fairly heavy torso for the larger sizes. So if you have a Technic style that works for you, it's probably going to be more efficient than this. But I do like the cohesive, completely enclosed styles. So let's start it off with the easiest method. And really it's just a matter of combining Technic bricks until you find something that fits. So you can use a combination of the standard Technic brick that has the hole in the center and those that have the hole closer to the edge. So this is the 1x1 here, and then here you can see the 1x2. And by experimenting really just with different combinations of positioning, so in this case you can see I've managed to sandwich these backing bricks just on top of each other, and this combination just happens to fit, which will give you this angle. And depending on which combination you use, both of the backing bricks and the ones that you're inserting with pins, you're going to get a different angle, all the way from something very steep here to the shallowest one I have here, which is this. So looking at the back, it's really, there's not much to it. It's just, I'm using one of these 1x2 bricks with 2 holes, a couple of plates, and this just happens to fit. So in some cases, let's see if this is one of the cases, I can't remember. This one seems to fit pretty naturally. And in other cases, you might end up with what some people would call an illegal technique, where there's a bit of pressure on the pins, but I think the notion of an illegal Lego technique is ridiculous, so I couldn't care less. And then you're asking, well, okay, what do I do with this now? So really at this point, you can go and do your studs forward building. So what you might do is take a, something like this and something like this, and then maybe your actual slope would sit like that. And at this point, or even, tuck it in if it fits. This particular one doesn't fit, so I'll just leave it there. And then basically, you can build your bricks with studs up on this side here. And in very short order, you have the notion of, a box frame for the rear torso, and then a sloping front torso. And in order to carry this over the front, you would just use a corner plate or what have you, and do the same thing on the other side. And once you have your corner plate or some other plate set up here, let's say I just popped in something like this, then put some bricks with studs on the top, and you can plate the top and really carry that nose forward as far as you want. And by virtue of doing studs forward, when you're doing the bottom, just do the same thing, right? You have a brick with stud facing the bottom, and you can do some really nice plating around the entirety of this snout. So that is actually the technique I used on both of those mechs I showed you at the beginning, the Archon and the Archon Beta. And it works really well. You can use something like a 1x3 slope on the back. Typically, depending on the angle you pick, you may find that using a 1x3 slope or a 1x2 slope, or using maybe a slope with grills on another plate here will fill this gap. In this case, you can see it's a bit too high, but maybe on one of these kind of different angles, it ends up looking a bit closer to straight. So it's really up to you to find the angle you like by combining, one of these slopes, and then filling it out how you like. So I'll show you another technique now that uses link arms. So here we have a different structure. I've already built it on the other side, but I'll show you how I built it on this side. Super simple. Again, really easy to find parts, very common parts. So all I've got here is a 1x2 brick with 2 holes on one side, and 1x1 brick with 1 hole on the other side. They're kind of sandwiched together to keep them strong. And again, this is just a matter of finding, finding which distance gets you that magical angle that works with the system. And then here we have a lift arm with a 90-degree bend, and all I do is I just pop it on like that, and then you have this nice slope. And I'll show you why this is actually extra nice versus the last technique. But at this point you have 2 options. So if you want to build studs up, you can, and if you want to build studs forward, you can. So there's actually a few different ways of doing this, but if I was to just put a couple pins in here, and then I pop this other Technic brick there, you now have a surface to work on. So at this point, you could go and pop a plate on there for your surface. Put a brick with a stud on it, and again, you can carry it forward as far as you want to go. This technique is good because it's easy, but what you might find is a bit of clearance issues down here. So I've had to do some creative work with that by having the design kind of come over it, but it's really not a huge issue. So this is cool because you can design something with a flat bottom if you like. So maybe you want a vehicle that has a sloping portion to it anywhere on the vehicle, or maybe you want to do a mech that has studs up build with a flat bottom, which I have done on some of mine. But you can also just do this, and now you have a studs forward design with a slightly different angle. So you would take something like that, and then just take a typical SNOT box here and attach them, and now you have a studs forward design. So really versatile, this technique, and it has probably almost as easy to find parts as the last one, and gives you a couple options there. So this is a really great, really strong, just bulletproof technique to achieve that slope. Now the third and last technique I'll show in this video is actually my favorite, but it's a bit tougher only because the parts involved are a little bit more rare. So this is what it's going to look like at the end, but what you have here is this Technic brick with a slope. I believe this is a discontinued part. I'm not certain. It was a little bit harder to find on BrickLink, but there's still plenty and in different colors. Make sure not to confuse it with this guy here that has the bits of slope on the top and the bottom. So what you really do with this one is you bind it to another Technic link arm and then use that as your frame, because again the angles just work out. So I'll show you how to build that and then how it comes together. So you have this link arm here with 3 pins in it, And what you're going to do is, let's see, which one do I need to build here? I need to build it facing this way. So you're just going to pop the bottom pin here through the frontmost hole on the slope. And then what we need to do is fill in the space here so that it's solid. So all you need for that is another Technic brick and 2 plates worth of spacing. So it looks like that. And then it just snaps on like that. And it's ultra solid. It's not going anywhere. And again, just like the last technique, what's cool about this is you can build studs up if you want a flat bottom, or you can build studs forward if you want to carry that slope all the way. So now I have 2 of these. So at that point, all I really need to do is to get a backing plate to bind them together. And like so. Super strong, not going anywhere. And then again, just like I showed before, just take your SNOT box and pop it on. And you're good to go. So this is actually my favorite technique I've been using lately. What's nice about it is you just get a really clean joint, and if you put a tile here, actually let me grab a tile. So if I pop this guy on here, and then let's fill this in. It's in there super snug, and you just get a beautiful just a beautiful junction there. So yeah, this is definitely my favorite. And you can use, again, if you had some bricks with studs facing this way, you can put whatever slopes you want in here to fill the gap. Or you can just go ahead, and if you don't want to build right on these bricks with studs, you could actually just put a plate over the whole thing and build over that, right? You can use, some sort of large wedge plate here to cover this, and some plate here, but that's really it. So those are 3 techniques for building, slopes. You can use this on a mech, a tank, a vehicle, whatever you want, really. And on my next video, I'll talk a little bit more about a few different ways to combine, the down slope with the inward slope there. Nothing fancy, but I imagine some folks might be interested. All right, thanks very much. If you like this, thumbs up, subscribe, all that usual business. Take care.